All right, guys, it's March Madness. Michigan made it in. Not even a real bubble team as they actually got a seed. What do you guys think about the tournament? Michigan State. There's a lot of different angles to talk about here.
I think one of the big things with Michigan is obviously their record is not impressive at all. So when you just look at the wins-loss record, that's what I think made most people say they probably should have been a bubble team or even on that first, the play-in games.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at their resume actually isn't that bad. They have some bad losses, but they actually have a good amount of, when you look at the big picture, you're putting 68 teams in the tournament. So when you look at their resume, it's actually not that bad. So them as an 11 seed, whatever. It is what it is. Like they deserve not to be a 3 or 4 seed, but I think 11 is about right, I guess is what I'm saying. As far as Michigan State, it's just wild to me that it doesn't bother me. It's just more funny that Michigan State and Duke always seem to end up in the same region for some reason. It's hilarious. When I saw Michigan State match up against Davidson, and we all know Foster Lawyer, who was at Michigan State, he transferred to Davidson. So that's who Michigan State plays in the first round. It's almost like the committee kind of tries to make these storylines. I don't know if everyone nationally knows that about the whole Foster Lawyer connection, but they're going to find out when they watch that game because they're going to talk about it. So you got that, and then in the second round, if both teams win, it'll be Coach K versus Izzo, and it's just it just makes me laugh because it's like it's supposed to be all about where teams are supposed to be as far as like their season, their resume, seeding, all that. The committee wanted to put Izzo versus Coach K for sure one more time. I mean, that's what they want in the second round. It will Coach K put Izzo out in the Spartans, or will Izzo end Coach K's career? They want those storylines. So that's what I mean. I'm not mad about it. I think it's funny because Michigan State and Duke usually play pretty great games. So if both teams get to the second round, it'll be a hell of a game.
It is funny, but it's also, isn't that part of the committee's responsibility to put the best product out there, for interest? I mean, it's just great.
They do. They are maybe the best, and people bitch about them every year on Selection Sunday, especially. Like, there's always the one or two. You can't get everybody into the tournament.
Right.
I mean, and to be honest,
and it's also really to the point, real quick, Jared. If you at this point, if you don't make the tournament, you probably don't deserve to be in the tournament. You know what I mean? Like, so many teams make it. It's kind of like if you don't make it, you just don't deserve it.
And I'll be the first to admit it. I was totally accepting that. I didn't think Michigan was going to make it, and I feel a little bit guilty that they did make it. I don't know if they deserved it. People talk about all the time our branding and how we have fans all across the country, and it wouldn't surprise me if that was a big reason why they did make it. And that's why we love the selection committee, though. They give us the matchups we've always wanted. I mean, you remember last year, Chicago, Loyola, sure enough, they're going to play Illinois round 2. You remember all those times that Wichita State used to play Kansas, like in round 1 or round 2. They just Dayton, Ohio State. They do this every year. Now we're seeing it with Davidson, Michigan State, and then potentially Michigan State versus Duke, where it's almost like they are fans that are building this tournament, and they do a great job every year. I love the matchups they give us. They never disappoint. Kentucky, Indiana, all those years ago, they do it every year. How can you not love it? It's what we want.
Even in Michigan's region, there's 3, including them, there's 3 Big Ten teams. So they're trying to potentially manufacture these Big Ten matchups, if those teams move on. So, yeah, I mean, I overall, I haven't really studied the bracket very closly. I've, glanced up and down. I don't think there's anything to be upset about. There's a lot of people complaining about maybe Texas A&M not being in. I don't know. Maybe that's just mostly people down here around the office. They thought A&M should have been in, but they weren't very good all year. They just made a run in the SEC tournament. So there's some other stuff like that. What do you guys think about I saw Tony Reale tweeted out about how he thinks some of these 16 seeds or some of these teams that are in the play-in games won their conference, but they're getting put in the play-in game. Whereas, say, a team like Michigan, they're the 8th team in the Big Ten, and they're an 11 seed. Do you think there should be something like that? Like if you win your conference, like Bryant won the Northeast Conference, and they're in the play-in game. Should there be almost like a caveat that if you win your conference, you avoid the play-in game?
When you say win the conference, did they win the regular season or did they win the tournament?
Both. They won the regular season.
They won both. Okay, yeah. That's legit.
To be honest, I can see why there would be a complaint about it. But if I'm these 16 seeds, I don't hate the idea of we have a standalone game that, other than UMBC, you're going to lose to the 1 seed. So you might as well have a chance, like 50-50 chance at winning this play-in game. And then we've seen how the play-in game can kind of propel you throughout the tournament. If you do win it, it's almost an advantage after the game's over. But no, I don't think it's a big enough problem to change it. It is weird, the play-in. Like, you would think it would be all 16 seeds that have to be in the play-in, but who would watch that? So,
right.
So no, I don't think it's a big problem. I don't think it needs to be changed. We're almost doing a favor to even put these teams in the tournament, if we're being honest. I mean, If it really was the best 64 teams, there wouldn't be the Southeastern Conference champion in there. Or that's the SEC, but some other conference like that.
But I mean, we see some of these teams make a little bit of a run, like UMBC or some of the, like you said earlier, Florida Gulf Coast all of a sudden makes a run. So would you rather see some of these smaller schools that are full of like 8 seniors, dudes that you've never heard of, don't even look like they can play basketball, but all of a sudden they're good? Or would you rather see like the 9th best team in the SEC? Like that's kind of the argument.
No, I agree. I would rather see. I would not rather see. That's why I said I don't think Michigan should have been in. Really,
right?
I mean, give that spot to somebody else, like Wyoming's in the play-in game, I believe. Give that spot to Wyoming. Put Michigan in the play-in. No, I would. That's what makes the tournament so awesome is these heroes that come out of nowhere. And funny that we were talking about MSU Davidson. Last year, I tweeted, or maybe it was 2 years ago, when Foster Loyer was struggling for MSU, like, if this guy went to a mid-major, he's a March Madness hero. I said that. I'll have to retweet it if it does become true. But, man, if you're Michigan State, what a enticing matchup. Loyer is not a scrub. He's had 10 games with 20-plus points. He put up 35 at one point this year. He could potentially give us an all-time March Madness moment, and I'm here for it. And that's 100% the matchup I'm circling for the first couple of days is Michigan State Davidson, and you're lying if that's not the biggest game of the first couple of days.
Yeah, it could go one of two ways. I mean, he could be fired up and put up 25 points, or the pressure going against his former team could go the other way. So that's a good reason to watch it. How's he going to show up? But it is a great matchup.
Yeah, the game, like, what's funny about like life comes at you fast type of thing. So Davidson lost to Richmond in their conference tournament or their conference title game, and Foster Loyer missed a 3. I'm sure you guys saw it, but Foster Loyer missed a 3 with like a second left, basically. That would have probably given Davidson the win.
Yeah.
And at the time, because Richmond probably wouldn't have been a tournament team at the time, people were like, oh, Foster Loyer missing that 3 could have kicked Michigan out of the tournament. So obviously a lot of like Michigan State fans, on Twitter and stuff were laughing about that, saying Foster Loyer just maybe put Michigan out of the tournament. Haha. And now it's like, yeah, but now he could put Michigan State out of the tournament, if he has a career game or something. But Davidson's just one of those teams that I've watched a few of their games. Just, they're down here right outside of Charlotte, and people love them. People love Davidson, mostly because of Steph Curry, obviously.
Yeah.
But they're a classic team that's a tough out in the NCAA tournament. Are they the best team in the country? No way. By no way. But like in the NCAA tournament, they're that team that plays like solid basketball. They don't turn the ball over. They've got like point guards like Foster Loyer who kind of take care of the ball. They can shoot. They can make free throws, which is huge in the NCAA tournament. So it's like Michigan State better not mess around, because Michigan State for sure should win the game. They've got way more talent, probably better coaching. And Davidson's coach actually is a legend, but there's no way Michigan State should lose that game. But that's the game that, like, if you look past Davidson, you're going to lose. You're going to lose that game in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you guys said at the start, I mean, I haven't fully dived into the bracket. That's usually a job for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I take my sweet time with it. Fill out, first thing I do, fill out, the picks I know for sure I'm going to do, and then I leave it for a couple days. Watch all the Joe Lunardi videos, all the Andy Katz videos, make sure I'm totally up to date. But I will say 3 things I'm heavy leaning. One, I'm going very anti-Big Ten. Just looking at the bracket up and down it, I don't think I have a team going past Sweet 16 at the furthest. And I have a lot of them getting, upset in either game number 1 or game number 2. My number 1 upset of round 1, I love this pick. It's weird that normally the Ivy League school is normally a 12 seed, the one that wins that conference tournament every year. For whatever reason, it might be down this year. Yale is the 14th seed. and they're playing Purdue. And you talk about the ultimate like clash of styles. Purdue can score on anyone. They don't play a lick of defense, but they love to run. And Yale's just going to slow them right down, and it's going to be a total clash of styles. And I think it's going to be a very close game. And when you get a close game in March, it can go either way at the end. So I love Yale to upset Purdue.
And that's a 3-14 matchup, right?
Yep, 3-14. And if just to give myself credibility, remember last year I was red hot on these opening. I know the opening weekend of March better than anyone. After that, maybe the worst, but that opening week I can pick those games.
It's because of those matchups. I mean, you just laid it out. That's an awful matchup for Purdue because Yale, as long as they play a good game, they're going to take Purdue right out of their game. That's what it is. It's the same with, like I was saying, with Davidson and Michigan State. Davidson's going to slow it down and try and play just like their style. So
yeah. And then I'll just throw this out. And then for the conference that I love, it's SEC. I'm going heavy SEC. I mean, I love Kentucky. I love Auburn. Those are my two legit guys that are teams that I think have a chance at the title. I love a lot of these other teams' draws like Arkansas. I think they can make a run. I'm loving the SEC. And then can I just say this, Pac-12, they were the story of the tournament last year. And for them to only get 3 teams in this year, including one of the teams being a 1 seed, it just made no sense. They were the story of the tournament. We saw so many characters. The coaches are awesome from the Pac-12. If you remember, that was like our takeaway was, hey, we got to get into Pac-12 basketball next year. Mm-hmm. And instead, they just did the classic, let's put 10 Big Ten teams in and just let them soak up all the spots. I don't know. I would have rather have seen more Pac-12 teams in. And for that reason, I mean, UCLA, USC, and Arizona. Other than Arizona, I love UCLA and USC to make a deep run as well.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because there's definitely East Coast bias. There's no question about it. I mean, all these teams on the West Coast, I was going to say, I mean, you got Arizona came in unranked at the beginning of the year, and what they pounded on the Spartans, didn't they? And then they ended up 31-3, and then Gonzaga never gets any respect,
right?
Even though they're not in the Pac-12. But West Coast basketball is just kind of put aside because nobody stays up that late to watch the games.
Yeah, it's similar to football. Obviously, people don't watch the Pac-12 or whatever, that Pac-12 after dark. But that's kind of what I mean about the Big Ten getting so many teams in. I'm with you, Jared. I don't know who out of the Big Ten I would trust to make a run to the second weekend. I mean, Illinois is pretty good. Iowa's been hot, but do we really think Iowa's going to make a run to the Final Four? Iowa's a team that I would never trust to make a run. Yeah. They're always going to slip up against someone,
we saw it last year, even with Iowa's best team in, ever.
Yep.
Oregon ran them off the court.
Right. Mm-hmm. You got a player in Luka Garza and you can't even, make a run or whatever. So yeah, I'm definitely with you on the Big Ten, not trusting them. The Pac-12, UCLA, maybe because we saw them last year, they would maybe be a team. Arizona's really good. Arizona's probably the 1 seed, maybe you would chalk up to make a run to the second weekend. Gonzaga. So I don't know. It's always just kind of tough because you have to pick matchups. It's never all chalk. So when you fill out your bracket, there's always that, the 12 over the 5 and some of these other upsets that always happen. So that's what's always fun about, filling out your bracket.
Yep.
How awesome, guys, kind of backtracking for a second. How awesome is it that these conferences have these tournaments? I mean, just locking into the Big Ten tournament, those 4 days, watching each game. I mean, it was just so pleasurable, and we're talking about a team like Iowa. Yeah, they probably won't go far in the NCAA tournament, but just for that 4-day stretch playing in the Big Ten, it was great basketball. And, Bohannon broke the Spartans' heart. And seeing teams like Wisconsin, I don't know what you guys think. He's probably the most hated man in the Big Ten,
Maybe the country, man.
Maybe in the country, yeah. But Brad Davison, that dude can play on my team any day of the week. I love the guy.
Yeah, no, I knew it. I knew he would be.
I do. He plays like I used to play, but much, much better.
That's not something to be proud of. I would say
I'm proud of him. I love the way he plays. Now, some of his antics, maybe not so much, but the kid can play basketball.
The best clip that circulated Twitter this weekend was Davison following out some Michigan State 60-year-old fan giving him the bye-bye.
Yeah, I saw that
shot in the crowd. It was incredible. And then it cuts back to Davison. He's losing his mind on the bench. That was TV poetry. That's what that was. But no, I got to throw this out there real quick. Bohannon, he's been getting a lot of negative press this week. I just wonder what you guys think. Do you guys think that there's a problem with him, due to the COVID, everybody got a free year, and he probably was redshirted and maybe had an injury redshirt as well. But he's been in college, forever. Right. I don't have a problem with it because, one, does anyone mad that a player decided to stay an extra year after they lost that COVID year? I'm not. It was bullshit that they lost it. It was sad. And so I don't fault him for that reason. And then also it's like, man, you think about it, we're all in the workforce now. Being the life of a college athlete is awesome, especially a Big Ten basketball player who's a known player. If I'm him, I'm staying as long as I can. I'm squeezing every drop out of this experience. And I would not feel guilty about it whatsoever. What do you guys think?
Oh, I'm right with you. I mean, it is kind of annoying, maybe. I don't know if annoying is the right word, but to think about, I mean, he's like 24 playing against 18-year-olds. So maybe you think like, it's a little bit of an unfair advantage, but it's the rules. It's not like he's breaking any rules or whatever. They put those rules in place because of the COVID year and stuff. Like Eli Brooks, same thing. Eli Brooks stayed for an extra year at Michigan. So it's the same thing. But yeah, that's what I think about. You can be like upset that Brad Davison has been at Wisconsin for 20 years. Bohannon's been at Iowa for 15 years. But if I'm in that position and, I know I'm not probably going to get drafted in the NBA, yeah, I'm staying at college for another year. You kidding me? To have a chance like Bohannon just hit a buzzer beater basically to win the Big Ten. Yep. And, you get to go to the NCAA tournament and you get to just live up college and, get a grad degree or whatever you're going to do. Yeah, I'm going to stay as long as I can. But yeah, I don't know. Like I can see why I'm sick of watching Brad Davison. Even though you like him, Ted, I'm sick of watching him with Wisconsin. I'm sick of watching Jordan Bohannon bank these threes in all over the place. But no, if I'm in their shoes, I'm staying as long as I can.
Yeah.
But you guys, you brought up, you brought up the conference tournament, Ted. I was going to ask you guys. So as awesome as it is, what we were just talking about, do you think that the system's almost a little broken because you brought up Yale, Jared. Princeton was the number 1 seed in the Ivy League, and Yale put them out. Princeton was really the best team in their conference the whole season, and because Yale, got hot in the conference tournament, now Princeton's out of the NCAA tournament. Is that a little broken? Richmond almost did it to Davidson because Richmond beat, Davidson in the championship game, but Davidson had a good enough season that they still made it. So do you think stuff like that that's just March? It is what it is, or do you think like that system's a little broken?
I don't know. It's a good debate because I go back and forth on it. They love the conference tournament week when I watched more Fun Belt games and conferences like that this week than I have in my entire life, and that's this week every year. So I do think that and partially that is because the winner gets the ultimate reward and is going to the tournament. So no, it's not the best system. It does screw a lot of teams over that were definitely more deserving, but I don't think it's worthy of change. It's not that big of a deal to me. If you're really that good of a team and you should be playing your best ball at this time of year, then you should get through your tournament, no questions asked. If you're legitimately going to have a chance to make some noise in the tournament, usually that's the case.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying there as far as it's not perfect, but I can live with the way it is. It does kind of screw the teams, though, that win the regular season, because I think really that's a much more important test of a team going through the whole grind and getting that championship instead of just being hot for a 3-4 day stretch. It's not fair, but how do you not have these conference tournaments, the winner of that tournament game not get to cut down the nets and know they're going to the dance? So I think the trade-off it's fair enough. And if Princeton was that good, they'd be a play-in team at least, right?
You would think. Yeah, that's the whole debate. Like, should Princeton have made it or the 9th best team in the Big Ten?
Right.
That's kind of the discussion we did on Saturday night. We did the MAC championship game, Kent State versus Akron, and not that I've watched any MACtion basketball all season, so this was the most I watched. But the MAC Player of the Year played for Kent State, Sincere Carey, and I had to bring this up while we were talking about the tournament. So he's the MAC Player of the Year, Kent State, in the MAC championship game. He's had a hell of a season. First half, he had 9 turnovers in the first half. And he essentially lost the game for Kent State. He was awful. And it's just like we're sitting there doing the game and we're like, I'm building packages and building like video things of like Sincere Carey, bad turnovers, all that. We get to the second half and we're like, the producer was like, we can't show this anymore. We feel like we're like burying this kid. I mean, he just had the worst game of his life, and Kent State out of the tournament because
Which deserve and Matt, I know you're aware of what the story, Ted. I don't know if you saw it, but basically when Kent State found out they were playing Akron in the championship game, there's a video of the locker room before where they were, a lot of expletives and inappropriate stuff about Akron. A lot of players got suspended, and wouldn't you know it, day later Akron bounces them. So I'm fine with it.
Poetic justice is how they call it, right?
One more thing I got on brackets, and Ted, I know how you stay on this. I got to bring it up every year because I'm so devoted to the opposite. You should only fill out one bracket. That's for anyone listening. I don't care if you're entering 10 different money pools and this or that. If you pick multiple different winners and basically 10 different brackets, guess what? You're going to have one bracket that does good, but that just ruins the entire fun. The fun of making a bracket is you're living and dying on each of these picks. And that's what makes those first 2 days so fun, because your bracket is legitimately could be busted. And that's what makes it fun. It's not fun if you have 10 different brackets and 3 of them get busted from this game and you have all these other ones still alive. It's stupid. And Ted, I know you're such a capitalist where everything's about money to you, but I would argue that the amount of enjoyment you get, whatever your buy-in was to whatever brackets you're in, by having just that one bracket and either having the thrill of victory or the agony of defeat, most likely than not, it's worth it in my opinion. So I just only fill out one.
I just made my decision. I'm not joining your bracket now.
Because you got the multiple, because you have the multiple.
You're dogging on me. Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. I mean, I'm going to say once again that my bracket that I'm going to fill out, and it's going to be my official bracket, is going to be our 3 Point Podcast Rivals bracket. No question about it. I haven't decided if I'll play the same bracket in a couple other contests. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. But I get what you're saying, but I don't have any problem if you're playing different contests and going with different teams and different levels. Now, if you're joining a contest and you fill out 3 or 4 different brackets and pay the money, I'm not for that at all. Let's say it's $10 to get in. You can say, well, I'll put $40 down, but I'll put 4 different brackets and mix it up. I don't agree with that.
Yeah,
so that's kind of the way I look at it.
It's kind of like buying multiple lottery tickets or something.
Right.
Maybe you can look at it that way. That's kind of what got me out of fantasy football. I played it for so long, but I got to the point where I was in like 5 leagues, and I'm like, you got a guy on your team in one league, but you're playing against him in another league, and you're just to the point where it's like I don't even know like who to cheer for or whatever. So that's kind of how I feel.
No,
I'm with you, Jared. I fill out one bracket and actually, put some thought into it. And then it makes it easy when you want to join multiple pools. You already got the bracket, just hit add, just drop that bracket in. So, makes you feel more like an expert too. When that one does well, makes you feel like I actually thought about this one and it did well.
Just so you know, that's probably what I'll do. But I know Jared likes to pick on me on that. I still will join your contest, Jared.
All right. That's good, man. Thanks for the donation.
I've got to ask.
The door.
You've got the block M on your chest down there. Before we move on, how do we think Michigan's going to actually do? Colorado State in the first round. If they win, if it kind of shakes out the way it's supposed to, they would play Tennessee in the second round. Do we think they make it to the second weekend, or what are we feeling?
I think they lose the first game probably.
They had the best draw you could imagine. I mean, Colorado State's not tested at all. I think they only had 2 games this year against tournament teams. So what a draw. I mean, talk about it just compared to Michigan State, who got totally shafted. It seems like State, I will say, I can feel for State fans. I tell you what, they seem to get shafted in stuff like this more than just about anyone. We saw the opposite of that in football season, I will say, where they played Pittsburgh. But no, they got totally shafted. I'd much rather have Michigan's draw than theirs. That's for sure. But no, I don't know how to feel about this team. You're potentially busting your bracket if you pick them to go to the Sweet 16. But then again, it's just they're such a Jekyll and Hyde team. We've seen them play good. But no, if I wasn't a Michigan fan, I probably would take Colorado State to beat them, honestly.
Yeah, it's probably one of those. I've just read a little bit about it that Colorado State might play a style that contrasts Michigan's. So, might be a bad matchup. The only thing I would say is what you said. Colorado State basically hasn't played anyone. Michigan obviously has. So, they're battle tested. And then Tennessee, like you were talking about the SEC being strong. Tennessee is good. They made a run. They won the SEC tournament, but they've been as inconsistent as Michigan has all year too. So if Michigan can get to the second game and, to the second round and play Tennessee, I wouldn't be shocked if they make it to the Sweet 16, just because you've got guys like Hunter Dickinson. Eli Brooks is a proven player. Caleb Houston could get hot and make a bunch of threes. So I would not be shocked. Like either way, they lose to Colorado State or they make it to the Sweet 16.
All right. Well, let's put it out there right now. We're recording on Monday. All right. Let's just give our opinion. What's going to happen? Michigan, how far you see them going?
I think they make it to the Sweet 16 and then lose.
Okay.
That's my guess.
I hate to say it. I have them beating Colorado State just because I think it'll be tough for them to match up with Dickinson. As kind of stupid as that sounds, but I mean, that's basically Michigan lives or dies on Dickinson's left arm with those jump hooks. So I think that they'll survive against the lower team in Colorado State. But then I think Tennessee is probably going to roll them, to be honest.
Yeah, I'd like to go with Matt's pick, but I'm going to be completely opposite. I think the hangover from giving up that huge huge lead to Indiana, Juwan coming back, I don't think they're clicking 100%. I think Colorado State wins that game, a close game, and Michigan's season is done and they regroup for next year. Now, on the opposite side, Michigan State, how far do we see them going? Do we see them getting by the first game, maybe upsetting Duke?
If you are not picking Davidson, unless you're a State fan or you really think State's going to have a long run, for the fun of it, just take Davidson to beat them. I mean, it's worth 1 point. If you don't have Michigan State advancing to the Sweet 16 or something, if you just have them beating Davidson, trust me, when Lawyer throws a dagger in Michigan State's heart from Steph Curry range with like 3 minutes left, putting all by 10, you're going to wish you picked Davidson just for the fun of it. So go Davidson. It's my prediction.
That you have to think about that kind of stuff when you're filling out your bracket. Like if you think Duke, if you're like for sure, you're sure Duke is going to beat Michigan State in the second round, then it is almost like go ahead and pick Davidson.
Yep.
Why not pick them to, maybe you get that point that a bunch of other people don't because everyone else picked Michigan State. So, you do think about stuff like that with the bracket. So all of that being said, I think it's going to be Duke. It's going to be Coach K versus Izzo in the second round, like everyone wants to see. And Duke is actually really good. Duke is good this year, but we've also seen really good Duke teams come up short. I mean, Michigan State beat Zion a few years ago, in the tournament. So, but I do think Coach K, he's going to have those guys motivated in his farewell tour, and I think he puts Izzo to bed. But it would be a fun game. I would want to sit and watch that game.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think I'm along the lines of I think State's going to get by Davidson. I think they'll be focused. Izzo is a great coach. He'll have them ready. Wouldn't shock me to see him get beat, but I think they're moving on into the next game against Duke. And I'm hedging on that one a little bit, but what the hell? I'm going to say Michigan State beats Duke and ends Coach K's career. The whole storyline right there. They move to the
shocked
Sweet 16.
That you're picking Michigan State.
I'll stick with my little fella coach over there. I'll tell you that right now. And I'm a little irritated. Let's put it this way. I 100% respect what Coach K has done at Duke. No question about it. But there's just something that just gnaws at me on the whole farewell tour here. And something about him just bugs me a little bit. So I'm pulling for Izzo on that one.
It's funny that Coach K bothers you so much, but you're
know.
such a big Izzo guy.
Well,
I almost put like Izzo and Coach K are almost like they're like the same dude. Almost. I mean,
really?
Like same style, a little more old school, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Except Coach K's actually won multiple national titles.
Yes, he has.
Yeah.
Yep.
It won't be to the same extent, but guess what? Izzo's last game at the Breslin, it'll probably be the same ticket prices, and it'll be the same.
It's going to be
that you'll have to do it. Just won't have the ESPN coverage, but it'll have literally everything else.
Yeah,
it may not be a national farewell tour, but when Izzo retires, the Michigan media, it's going to be nauseating, and maybe rightfully so. But
no, that's fair there. I mean, I can see where you don't respect him as much as I do. I kind of go back. I mean, I'm an old guy. He's an old guy. We're the same age, right? I saw him when he was Judd Heathcote's assistant. I was so happy he got the gig. I mean, his first year coaching at Michigan State, he took the time and came on my radio show. So I have personal feelings.
That's what it is. That's what it is.
It
goes a long way.
It does.
I like Izzo. He's the last of a dying. I don't want his type of coaching to die off. And guess what? That's going to happen within the next 10, 15 years. He's the last of a dying breed in terms of the in your face, and his players seem to love him. We've debated on this before. Is that just because they don't want to go speak out against Izzo when everybody else is so pro for Izzo? That's to be debated, but. No, I like Izzo. I like seeing him lose, but I'll be the first one to congratulate him when he makes a long run. And I tell you what, the last team to win the Big Ten, to win the championship from the Big Ten, Michigan State, and also the last team to make the Final Four from the Big Ten, Michigan State. So, right. I mean, what else do you need to know about the guy? We talk about how he's like lost a step, but yet he's still the most recent coach in the Big Ten to do that.
Which is almost sad. It's not a shot at him, but the Big Ten really hasn't won a title in 21 years. It's crazy.
Right. Well, we're going to get ready for it, fellas. It's going to be a lot of fun. I've done it for years and years, and now that I'm semi-retired, I'm sitting home anyway watching the games on TV, but I've always taken the Thursday and Friday off, and it's kind of my deer hunting season. It's vacation time. And I will say this, and it happens every year after Thursday and Friday's game, by Saturday, I'm groggy. I'm just it's almost too much basketball, but I have to gear up for Saturday and Sunday. But those first 2 days are just incredible.
I'm so jealous of you, man. You've got the retired life. You're going to be plopped in front of this couch from noon until midnight, Thursday and Friday.
Absolutely.
You got to get some. You get some Rivals takeout for the whole day.
Perfect.
Just have it sitting there. You need to get up and take a couple walks though.
I got my
walk down to the water. Walk down to the water. Look at it for a bit. Walk back.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Yeah, and I got the treadmill set up right down here in front of the big screen TV too. So, and speaking of Rivals, again, Matt, set up the stage of all our listeners out there to play our contest.
Yep. So yeah, it's back again. This is probably I think we've been doing it every year. We've had the podcast for the fourth or fifth year, or third or fourth year, whatever. But yeah, so a partnership with one of our favorite partners, Rivals Tap House and Grill, a bracket challenge. On ESPN.com, you search 3PP and Rivals bracket time. Everything's on our social media. But yeah, search that, join it. It's free. You can win some ESPN swag or some gift cards to Rivals. So it's one of those things like we were just talking about. If you've already got brackets filled out on ESPN.com, search it, add it. It's free. You don't have to pay. Give yourself another shot to win some stuff. So I think we had almost I think it was up around 140 or 150 entries last year. So pretty cool.
And it's free. I mean, dude, like I said, how can you beat? It's just free. And it's not like the ESPN, no shot at ESPN, Matt, but it's like ESPN will have these the sweepstakes or whatever. You join the group for the sweepstakes and it's like 100,000 other people. Right. This is it's like you said, it's 100, 200, hopefully more. But you got a real chance to actually, win some food from Rivals. And like I said, win it, and it'll be right in time for the Masters. So
yeah, not only get in the contest, but hey, if you're local here in the Shiawassee County, Michigan area, just pop into Rivals and watch some of the games. I mean, they've got big screens everywhere. The atmosphere is awesome. Great food and drink specials. How's that for a March Madness plug there for one of our friends over there at Rivals? It's a great spot to go. It really
is though.
Yeah.
And join it so you can beat Ted.
Yeah, absolutely. And go in there and root for Izzo, too. All right, we'll wrap this up and maybe a quick little entertainment right after this.